Part 2. A poet, a musician, and a music facilitator.
Invocation. The blue note before the horn, before the sigh. Ye silence sharp as a New York sky. Then a breath, a crack, a tear in the air.
Part 2. A poet, a musician, and a music facilitator. Adding a music facilitator to the comparison introduces a fascinating third perspective. Remember in part 1, we talked about a poet and a musician and their perspective, their differences and their similarities. By adding a music facilitator, it adds a third perspective. While the poet and the musician are primarily creators of their art and craft, focus on the artifact, poem, songs, or the performance. The poet, the musician, focuses on the artifact, that is the poem, the song, or the performance. The music facilitator is a catalyst. The music facilitator is a catalyst. Facilitating. That's what the music facilitator is going to do now. He becomes the catalyst for allowing individuals to be part of something within a community, within a session, whether it's in a music therapy or a music facilitation, a facility where individuals gather. The music facilitator becomes the catalyst. The art is not the sound itself. As a music facilitator, it's not about the art itself. So the function or the focus is not on me as a facilitator, a music facilitator. The focus is on the act of enabling sounds, expression, or connections. So you have a group of diverse individuals comes in. Some might have some issues, challenges, and diverse scenarios of what could be going through their lives. The music facilitator will gather this particular group and bring some kind of a sound expression, so they can find themselves to do things that they would not normally do. Oh, it could be someone with Alzheimer's come into the session and maybe sitting quiet. It could be someone with autism. It could be anyone going through challenges. The music facilitator is not about the sound itself, but the act of enabling. So as a music facilitator who operates in that capacity, I have to recognize And in one of my books, Hidden Possibilities, The Music Within, talks about some of those individuals, some of those stories that I have observed. So I'm experienced in being a music facilitator. So I don't call myself a music therapist, because I want to separate the medical terminology and give it more of a creative individual coming from the world of poetry and music. I also want to be able to be so dynamic that individuals who gather in one of my sessions are not bound by restrictions, but be allowed to be free to express themselves through words, music, and self-expression. So let's expand the framework to include the distinct role. Let's look at that. The core similarities of all three. All three fundamentally servants of human expression. All three are fundamentally servants of human expression. We serve, we are servers. As a poet, the poet is a servant of human expression. The musician is. The music facilitator is. And they all use sounds. But listen, sound, language, and structured interaction. Whenever I'm in a session with individuals with diverse abilities, challenges, whatever they're going through, my goal is not to be so perfect in myself that I cannot be dynamic and make changes on the fly. So it is very important to be structured in a way, but yet be free within the structure. So when we say, yeah, you gotta be expressive, that's exactly what I mean. No matter what you do, it's part of your self-awareness and self-expression. In any art form, you have to be allowed to be free, even if there is a structure. For example, in jazz, when we talk about improvisation, we talk about improvisation because the same music that was played earlier is not going to be sound the same way the next time around. Again, depending on who is playing. So as a music facilitator, whenever I go into an area, a facility, a performance, it's not about the focus on me. The focus is on the participants. Now, let's look at, we said earlier, all three use sound, language, and structure. Right? Structured interaction to convey to the audience. So let's look at number one. Create connection. Creating connection is between artist and audience. That's one of the main things. Artist and audience. Creating that connection is meaningful. Otherwise, everything just breaks down and nobody knows how to communicate. So in the communication, it's about creating connection. As a music facilitator, that is a critical area to create a connection between the artist and the audience. Between the individuals, yes, or within a community, because sometimes you could be in a community room. You might have a one-on-one, or you might have a large audience. So whatever it is, whether you're a poet, a musician, or a music facilitator, you got to keep in mind how to create connection, especially for the music facilitator. That's a critical area. Now, shape time. Number 2 is shaping time, shape time. How do we do that? Through rhythm, pacing. Through rhythm and pacing, and the art of an experience. You've got to experience something. You've got to find something in your experience to demonstrate, to exhibit. Sometimes it's extemporaneous. But whatever it is, you've got to find that arc. Because your experience didn't just happen. It's over time. So, as a music facilitator, there are many instances where I have to stop and tell a story, or maybe a poem, or maybe just the title of a song. So it's not about performing an entire song or singing an entire song or playing an entire song. It's sometimes just the title. Maybe one line in the lyric could make a difference to get someone's mind to trigger into a space and time. So a music facilitator knows how to shape time, how to press in and pull back and let time help you guide the way. Number 3, translate the intangible. Translate the intangible. That is, giving form to emotion. Giving form to emotion. That's critical. Because if you have an ABA form, for example, a sonata form, a binary form, whatever the form, it can't be so rigid that everything must be in that rigidness. No, as a music facilitator, sometimes I have to just reframe within the form. The form is there. Just like a jazz musician improvising within the form, you might not hear the same improvisation the next time around because it's a new song being created, something new. So you're reframing within the form. That is the crux of the matter. Therefore, you have to think creatively at all times as a music facilitator. So, giving form to emotion, also to memory. Sometimes someone might come and their memory is not as sharp. Maybe the recall time is not as quick. as one would expect, as a music facilitator, patience. Find something that will trigger that memory. And that's why pacing is so important. You can't rush through everything saying that you want to finish quickly and get on with it. No. It's about the time within the form, how you're going to reframe at any given instant for memory and also or identity. Sometimes some people might not even remember certain things, therefore they don't identify what they once identified with. And thus, a simple melody or a simple title or a scenario, a story can trigger that individual to remember, to recall from memory, or to identify with something from childhood. So a poet, a musician, and a facilitator have something in common, because I personally operate on all three. Not every poet is a musician, not every musician is a poet, and not every facilitator is a poet. See, but many music facilitators will play an instrument. How well they play the instrument depend on their particular instrumentation or instrument that they are familiar with. But whether you are a singer, an instrumentalist, a poet or a musician, a songwriter. See, so keep in mind that being a music facilitator is not a one-dimensional instant. In any instant that you stand in front of an audience, or I normally call them my participants, right? I don't use the term patients. I don't use anything like that. They're participants. That's my audience. And whenever we're together, it's a fun time. So as a music facilitator, it's important for me to conjure up emotion, sounds that will bring emotional transformation. Sometimes, yes, it might be a poetry. So when I present words, music, and expression to an audience, it's exactly that, for individuals to feel as if they're a part of something. Now, we just look at the core similarities of the three. So let's talk about the differences, the key differences. The features are poet, musician, music facilitator. So let's look at that. Three areas I'll cover. Primary medium, like we did in part one. The primary medium, language, words on pages, or spoken word, or it is spoken. Sound, notes, instruments, and voice. So when you sing, a singer sings, a musician can sing too. Because you're always a musician. From the day you were born, you were a musician. Your entire body is an instrument. How you move. how you move, how you sound. Each voice is different. Process and relationship. Process and relationship. Their medium is group dynamics. The safe container, when you're in an area, you know, it's a dynamic group, of course, and the facilitator, the music facilitator, must also be as dynamic as the group. It's a safe area. So it's like a container. When you put things in a container, you lock it up, you make it safe. But it's about an experience too, right? It's about an experience. Because you might have someone comes in with a little bit more difficult problem than another, and you have to cater, but not overpower. So as a music facilitator, I have to use my eyes, my senses, to feel what's going on with each individual that comes into one of my sessions. And because of that, it's important for me not to go in with a rigid set of rules. Okay, step one, I'm going to do this. Step two, I'm going to do this. Step three, I'm going to do that. No. Because you don't want it to be so rigid that as a music facilitator, you're not enjoying what you're doing. So guided experience is also part of the primary medium. Role. Let's look at number 2, role. Creator. When you're a creator of your art, you originate the work. That's the main thing. You originate the work. So you could be the performer and the interpreter. Performer, interpreter of your own work. The sound, where we think about bring sound to life. Yes. The performer put all the ideas together, words, and make it sound poetic, with rhyme, yeah, and with rhythm, meter. Example, iambic pentameter. Da dum da dum da dum da dum da dum. Yeah, I'm feeling it already. All right, so when we think about the role of the poet, the musician, or the facilitator, who become the catalyst, we have to also be mindful that as an enabler, you know, in the capacity of just a music facilitator, that music facilitator might not be a composer, might not be a poet. So they might not have created the work that they're utilizing, but they're an enabler. So I can lock myself off from all the other stuff that I do and say, I'm just a pure music facilitator. Then I'm an enabler. I become an enabler. And that might not create any sound itself, because I haven't created any sound as a music facilitator, but I'm using the sounds. But because I am a poet and a musician, I embodied all three. So what needs to be done then is, as a music facilitator, it's about unlocking the creative capacity of others. Unlocking the creative capacity of others. So if there are many diverse individuals in the group, in the session, my job is to unlock what they have locked up. So I have to be very careful and find a way to unlock their fears, unlock their trepidation, because I want them to be free within the structure. Because many times they are in a situation where they're structured to do this, do that. So when I come in as a musician and a facilitator, I operate on a different principle. I free them up to move their toes, to tap their hands, to smile, to swing their head, to feel their heartbeat, and to make movements as if they're flowing in the air. Now, what's the output? I will close with output. A poem. A poem is text. A song, performance, or recording. A transformative, let's say a transformative experience. A community choir. A community choir. A client's newfound voice. Someone in the audience, someone in the session might just find their voice. Maybe they were just singing in the bathroom and was afraid to come out and be in the community choir. But that one session, they'll just say, yeah, let me try that. Or you've never said anything before. And some people think you can't sing, you can't move, you can't do anything. There's this one story in my book, Hidden Possibility. Isn't Hidden Possibilities the Music Within? Where I dramatize a story based on an individual that does exactly that. Everyone says she couldn't do certain things. And yet, she's the one that took the mic one day, sat up in her wheelchair, and she was just going and doing her thing. You see? So when we see individuals in situations where one thinks that they're not able or capable, I say, take a chill pill and wait for that individual's moment to shine. And you would be surprised. Because it's going to be transformative in any event when individuals come out of their shell and feel free to express themselves. So these are the outputs that I look for in individuals. The transformative experience, their performances, how they feel wherever they are, you know, and they might not go into a community choir, but a community choir would be like a part of the output we're looking for. So no matter what I do, there's an outcome that I look for. in any situation? What am I trying to accomplish at the end with individuals in a session? You know, there's also connection, moments of connection. How are they connecting with each other? I remember I was in a session, and this one lady, she wouldn't speak in English grammar, but she would speak in rhythms. I wrote a poem because that experience was transformative for me. And because it was transformative, we had a good time together because I put my guitar on and we were just having fun. So you see, I learned from her, but she was expressive because she found someone who understood her. It's important to understand the human condition. Look into yourself and ask the question, am I the instrument? And if you are an instrument, then why not play? Play, have fun with your instrument. I'll end here in part 2. So once again, thanks for listening to me, going through a poet, a musician, and a music facilitator. This is the conclusion of part 2, and I'll stop here for now. Once again, my name is Lester G. Smith, aka Nettie Smith, and I'm a poet, a musician, and a music facilitator. Thank you for listening.